right, let's go over this four problem. Is it a you guys remember how to do it, or you guys a little bit stuck in terms of this problem? Reminder, reminder, ladies and gentlemen, the difference between the expression versus the equation is the equation, there is an equal sign, right? Because there's an equal sign, we are working or we are dealing with a equation. So this is what we have is because there's an equal sign, we are there with a equation. And if you remember to solve the equation I mentioned on last time is our goal is we want to somehow to get rid of the denominator. So to get rid of the denominator, reminder that this is what we have to do, or this is what I asked you guys to do is first, we need to find the LCD. And to find the LC is very easy. Just circle your denominator. And in this case, your denominator, the denominator is X, right? This is the only denominator we have because everything as a whole number is over one, or if it's one, we don't really care about, which in this case, the denominator, if you really want to, you can say 1x, right? If you put them together, and if they repeat it, we write one time. So in this case, we can say that the denominator is 1x. And if you reminder, I told you guys, identify how many terms we have, right? We have, in this case, we have 3 terms. So what do we do with the LCD? Well, this is all we need to do. Let me rewrite the problem first. This is all we need to do is we have 2 minus 7 over x equal to 9. All we need to do is whatever the LCD, this is the LCD is 1x. All we need to do is take the 1x and multiply to the first term, take the 1x and multiply to the second term, and take the 1x multiply to the third term. How many ever term that you might have, you multiply to every single item. And if you multiply that, this is what we have, right? This is what we have is we have 2 times 1x, which 2 times 1x is 2x, because 2 times 1 is 2, the x is there. And this item, all we need to do is because of the x on the denominator and the x on the numerator, what do I have left? Well, I have 7 times 1, which 7 times 1 will give me 7. And again, this thing here, I have 9 times 1x and 9 times 1x to give me 9x. So if you look at this item here, our goal, once we find the LCD, we just insert the LCD to the numerator. Every single numerator we have, which in this case, we have 3 of them, we insert to all 3. And our goal, as I mentioned to you guys, our goal is the denominator have to be disappear. If the denominator does not disappear, we did something wrong. So once we have this item here, now what do we do? Well, if you look at this thing here, do you agree that now I can solve, and to do you agree that I need to get my 2x to that side, and to get my 2x to that side, I need to subtract 2x. The reason is 2x take away 2x is cancel out. And again, I have negative 7x still stay on this side. In this case, I have 9x minus 2x to give me 7x. And how do I get rid of this 7? To get rid of the 7, I need to divide it by 7. Therefore, my answer is x equal to negative 1. You can say x equal to -1, doesn't matter how you write it. You can write -1 equal to x or x equal to -1. Doesn't matter how you write it. This is what you should have in terms of the answer. And if you in doubt, right? Most of you say, well, what if we in doubt with this answer? Well, if you in doubt, you can check this item out. We find x is equal to -1, and my problem is this. My problem is this item here. So all they tell you to do is instead of write x, you write a -1 in the place of x, which do you agree? Do you agree that a negative and a -1 will give me a positive. And in this case, 2 plus 7 equal to 9, which that is my answer. As you can see, you can solve and then you can check your answer. If you want to check your answer, you just plug in your answer. Okay, so that's what we have in terms of number 3 on this item here. The item we have. If you before, and like I said, we'll give you after question this again, all we need to do is the first thing we need to do is we need to find the LCD. And to find the LCD, all you need to do is take the denominator and mush them together. And if they happen to repeat it, we use it one time. So in this case, I know that x minus 2 and x minus 2, they repeat it. I use it one time, which my LCD is basically x minus 2. So now what do I need to do with the LCD? Let me rewrite this item. I have the first item in terms of 3x over x minus 2. All I need to do is put my LCD on the numerator, which is x minus 2. And again, that's my first term. Subtract 6 over x minus 2. What do I need to do? I need to take my LCD, which is x minus 2, and put it there. And again, what do I have? I have 6. And now I need to put my LCD, which is x minus 2. Again, this is all you need to do. Reminder, you need to find the LCD. And now because it's an equation, because there's an equation, there's an equal sign, because it's an equation, all you need to do is insert your LCD, your least common denominator, to the numerator. And now once you have that, this is the objective here, ladies and gentlemen. The x minus 2 on the bottom and x minus 2 on top, they cancel out. The x minus 2 on bottom and x minus 2 on top, they cancel out. There's nothing to cancel out on the third term. So my problem is 3x minus 6, because everything here, this cancel, equal to 6 times x minus 2. So if you remember to solve, now we no longer have the denominator. And that's our goal, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to have the denominator here. And if you see this thing here now, what do we need to do? We need to distributive the 6 in. Go back to chapter 2 and chapter 3. With distributive our x in, we have 3x minus 6. 6 times x will give me 6x, and 6 times 2 to give me a 12. But because there's a negative, I use in that. And again, now it's up to you, right? Now it's up to you. For me, I like to use, or I like to move a smaller x to the larger x. So I want to move this 3x to the 6x. And if I want to move the 3x, I need to subtract. And again, 3 take away 3, that cancel out. My problem is this now. I have a negative 6 still here. Bring it down. 6 minus 3, I still have 3x minus 12. And now what do I need to do? I want to, because I move my x to the right, I need to move this to the left. And to move it to the left, I need to add 12. And again, even though I say we add, but because they have the same different sign, we need to subtract to give me positive 6 equal to 3. And looking at this thing here, how do you get rid of this 3? You divide this by 3. Therefore, your answer will be 2 is equal to x, or x is equal to 2. Doesn't matter how you write it. Doesn't matter how you write it. This is what your answer is. Your x can only be take as a 2. Okay. And again, if you in doubt, if you want to check, so x is equal to 2, right? Well, first of all, question with solving here. Question with solving here, ladies and gentlemen. We run into a small problem. We run into small problem, ladies and gentlemen. Because x is equal to 2, we solve it and we say x is equal to 2. Everybody see that we run into a small problem here. If I put in 2 minus 2, what is 2 minus 2? Do you agree that 2 minus 2 is equal to 0? Can the denominator be equal to 0? And if you look at this thing here, the denominator cannot be equal to 0, because if the denominator is equal to 0, it's undefined. And if it's undefined, we are in trouble. This here, for 2, we definitely have to say that this is no solution, because if you put in the x in, or if you put in the 2, as I mentioned, if you put in the 2 into our original problem, if you put in the 2 into our original problem, as you can see, 2 take away 2 is equal to 0. And if it's equal to 0 and the 0 is in the denominator, we cannot, is undefined. Okay. Looking at the solution, even my answer as x equal to 2. I believe my math is correct. 6 negative 12. 12. Yeah, so it's no solution. But question here, ladies and gentlemen, question with number 3, x is equal to -1, or question with number 4, where x is no solution. No solution. Now, let's take a look at 5. And I mentioned this one, but it might not, no. If you were to do this, let's take a look at number 5. If you don't see that the LCD is 6, okay? If you don't see the LCD is 6, let me show you that because you're solving, it does not matter. The LCD here is 6. If you don't 6, and Mr. Tran told me that all I need to do is take the denominator and put them together, but if they happen to repeat at a different location, I only use it one time. Let's say that you say that this is what I told you and this is what you're going to use. Let's see. Okay, the LCD here is not 18. The LCD here is 6. Okay, but again, if you remember, I told you guys that if you look at this thing here, and you say, well, 18, but between the 3 and the 6, they have a common divisor of 3. You can divide by 3 to give you 6 as an LCD. But let's say that we don't have an LCD. Let's say we just have a common denominator, the CD. And let's say that we have a CD, and this CD, which is, I took the 3 times the 6. Will it work? Yes, it will definitely work. It's just that you will work with a big number. But let's take a look at whoever used 6 and you find the answer, that's good. If you don't use 6 and you use 18, this is the only thing we have, ladies and gentlemen, is my problem is x minus 2 all over 3. What do I do with the LCD? I put the LCD on the numerator, okay? Minus x plus 1 all over 6. And again, I put my LCD, in this case, just a CD, because it's not LCD, because it's not the least. But again, it doesn't matter, as you can see here. So what did I do? All I did was whatever the common denominator I found, I insert on the numerator. And now this is what we have. If you look at this item here, everybody see that 3 go into 18 is 6 times. Meaning my new problem is I have 6, not 6. I have x minus 2 multiply to 6, meaning basically you take the 6 and you derivative them in. And again, this 6 go into 18 3 times, meaning my problem now is I have, I suppose to write a 3 in front. The number usually brighter in front, so that's why it's supposed to be like this, ladies and gentlemen. It's supposed to be 3 open parenthesis x plus 1, and then you have to distributive it in. You rarely write it in the back, but again, this thing here, 6 going to 18 is 3 times. That's why we have 3 times 3, and this is what we have is basically, again, when you distributive the 3 in, you have to change the sign because of that negative. But looking at this item, this is what we have is 6 times x will give me 6x, 6 times -2 to give me -12, -3 times x to give me -3x, and -3 times 1 to give me -3, and this thing will give me 3 times 3 is 9. So if you use 6, your number will be a little bit smaller, but it's, you know, if you use 18, it's not wrong. It's just that you have to do with a little bit bigger in terms of the number. So now we know that they on the same sign, and if they on the same sign, we need to combine like term. And if I combine like term, do you agree that 6 take away 3, I still have 3x left? And similarly, I have a -12 and a -3. They on the same sign. I need to combine them and give me a -15 equal to 9. And now my x is only on one side. My x is on one side, so I need to get rid of this 15. And to get rid of this 15, I need to add 15. And if I add 15, my new problem or my leftover problem is 3x equal to 24. How do I get rid of this 3? I need to divide it by 3 to both sides. Therefore, my x is equal to, my x is equal to 8. So which x equal to, you can check your answer. You can in 8 in every single half, and if you use this, you still can. If you use the 6, you do it too. And use the 6. I mentioned if you use a 6, you just put a 6 here, you put a 6 here, and you put a 6 here. This item and this item disappear because the 6 and the 6, they disappear. The 6 and 6, they disappear. The 3 going to 6 is 2 times, which give you your new problem. You have 2 times x minus 2 minus x plus 1 equal to 3. And if you work that problem out, you will get the same answer, which is x is still the same. X is equal to 8. Okay. But again, regardless of how you question here in terms of number 5. If you don't have question, let's take a look at number 6, our last problem. If you look at number 6, again, a little bit different from the prior problem, and we encountered this last time too. And if you remember, or if you look at this thing here, what is the main difference between this problem to the prior problem? Hopefully you guys see that there's an x squared. And if there's an x squared, this is the first thing you need to do is before we can say that the LCD, we need to factor the x squared out. And hopefully you guys see that the factor of this item here will be x plus 3, x minus 1, because there are two numbers multiplied to give you 3, but subtract to give you 2, which is 3 and 1. And again, mostly you guys see that this 2 combination is the factor of that item. So how do we find the LCD, ladies and gentlemen? How do I find the LCD? To find the LCD, reminder, the LCD, all we need to do is merge all of them together. But if they happen to repeat at a different location, right? I have one location here, two location here, and three location here. If they happen to repeat at a different location, all you do is you use it at once. So my LCD is x plus 3, x minus 1. We do not duplicate them because they repeat at the different location. So we do not duplicate them. This is all we need to do is merge them together, but we only use it one time. So what do we have? This is what we need to do is, let me rewrite the problem. My original problem is I have 2 all over x plus 3. What do? I take my LCD, which is x plus 3, x minus 1. I put it on the numerator, plus 3 over x minus 1. And what do? I take my LCD, which is x plus 3 times x plus 1, and put it on the numerator, equal to my problem equal to negative 13 all over my new factor is x plus 3, x minus 1. And again, what do I need to do? I need to be fair and take my LCD and put it on every single numerator. So now, once I did that, the reason why we do that is because x plus 3 on top and x plus 3 on the bottom, they cancel out. I have 2 times x minus 1 left. X plus 1, x minus 1, sorry, x minus 1 and x minus 1 cancel. I have 3 x plus 3. And again, this thing here, the good thing about this is everything on the numerator and everything on the numerator, they cancel out. And now I only have 13 as in negative 13 left. So as you can see, this is what we need to do. We need to find the LCD. And once you find the LCD, our goal have met. Why our mini goal have met is we eliminate the denominator. We need to eliminate this denominator. And once we eliminate this denominator, as you can see, this is all we have to do is now we can solve this item. And if we solve this item, hopefully you guys see that all we need to do is distributive this thing in, distributive this thing in, and we don't need to distributive a positive because it won't do anything. So if you distributive them in, this is what you have is you have 2x minus 2 plus 3x plus 9 equal to negative 13. And because they're on the same side, I need to combine like term. 2 plus 3, that will give me 5x. A negative 2 and a positive, a negative 2 and a positive 9, that will give me a positive 7 equal to negative 13. And now how do I get rid of the 7? To get rid of the 7, I need to subtract. And even though I say we subtract, they have the same sign, we need to add and keep the sign. And again, how do I get rid of the 5? I divide it by 5 to both sides. Therefore, x is equal to negative 4. Again, this is what we need to do, or this is what we have to do in terms of the LCD, in terms of what we need to do with this particular item. Your goal, again, your goal is how can you take this item right here and solve for x right here. And when you solve it out, again, your goal, mini goal is at this location, once you insert in your LCD, you no longer should have a denominator because the LCD cancel the denominator. Okay. So question here, ladies and gentlemen, question with problem number 5, number 6, or number 3, and number 4. So if you don't have question, like I mentioned earlier, let's take a look at the other type of problem that you have. Let's take a look at this item right here. So what is the difference between the previous problem I showed you versus this problem here? So what is the, again, the previous 4 problem versus, do I have the other type? Let's do this type. Let's do number 11 and number 12. What is the main difference? Well, first of all, hopefully you guys see that the main difference that we have is number 11 and number 12, there is no equal sign. And if they don't have an equal sign, we call this an expression, right? If we don't have an equal sign, we call this an expression and not an equation. So expression, and to do the expression or to simplify this expression, we have to do a little bit different, okay? So how different is this problem? Again, if this is equal to 1 or equal to something, then we know life is good, because once we find the LCD, all we need to do is insert to the numerator. But because this thing does not have an equal sign, this is what you need to do. Is the same thing as before. The first item we need to do is we need to find the LCD. Okay, so how do I find the LCD? Well, to find the LCD, I need to factor this thing out. I want to factor this item so that I can see, or I want to see if there's any item or is there any like term that I want to have. Do you agree that this is what I have is on the bottom, on the denominator, 2x plus 10, I can factor out a 2 to give me x plus 5. And if you look at this item, if you look at this item here, at this denominator, do you agree that this right here is a perfect binomial? And if it's a perfect binomial, do you agree that one of them is positive and one of them is negative? So this is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. We factor the denominator out. So that we can see what are we missing. If you remember, I told you guys that instead of find the LCD, this is what you ask yourself is on this side. Let me rewrite this a little bit bigger. I'll give myself some space. If you ask yourself this item here, because first of all, this thing is an expression. So this is what you ask yourself is on this location, my red location and my blue location, right? At the red location, what am I missing? Some of you probably yelling at me over there. One of them positive and one of them is negative. Not both negative or both positive. So this is what you ask yourself is what are you missing on this side, right? I have an x plus 5 and an x plus 5. Do you see that I'm missing the x minus 5? And this, unlike what we did earlier, because they don't have an equal sign, whatever you insert on the bottom, on the denominator, you need to insert on the numerator, okay? And similarly, on this side of the expression, what am I missing from the red side? Do you agree that I'm missing a 2? And if I'm missing a 2 on the denominator, if I'm missing a 2, I need to put in a 2. And if I put in a 2 on the denominator, I need to put in a 2 on the numerator. And that's what I did, right? Over here, I'm missing on this side, I'm missing a 2. So I put in a 2. Over on this side, I'm missing the x minus 5. So I put in the x minus 5. So why do we do this? Or why do we do this item? Because remember, to add or to subtract to add or to subtract, your denominator must be, got to be the same. And if they are the same, this is what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen. All we need to do is combine the top, which in this case, 5x minus 5 plus 2 times 3, all over, kept the denominator, which is 2x plus 5, x minus 5. Because we have the same common denominator, we kept the denominator and we combine the numerator. And if you combine the numerator, we need to distribute this thing in to give me 5x minus 25 plus 6. And again, all over 2x plus 5, x minus 5. And what do we have here? We know that this item we can combine like term. And if we combine like term, we have 5x negative 5 25 plus 6 to give me a 21 all over, not 21, sorry, 19. And again, on the bottom, we have 2x plus 5, x minus 5. And like I mentioned to you guys, this will be your answer. And again, the difference between this particular problem versus the other problem is right here. The other problem, because there's an equal sign, we need to just put in the numerator for every single term. But this one here, because they don't have an equal sign, we need to insert on the numerator as same as on the denominator, and vice versa on the numerator as same as on the denominator. Okay, so that's the difference, and that's what you need to recognize in your homework or on your test. Let's try one more here, number 12, and then I will let you guys go to see if you guys can do your homework. So if you look at this item here, clearly the denominator is not the same. And if they are not the same, the first thing you need to do is you want to factor them out. So let me use this color code. Let me factor the left-hand side in blue and the right-hand side in red. Okay, so my original problem I have is 4. And hopefully you guys see that this is what we have is there two number multiply to give me 15, but subtract to give me positive 2. And hopefully you guys say that there is 5 and there is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 minus 3 is 2. And because the 2 is positive, the 5 have to be negative, positive, and the 3 got to be negative. The other item I have is I have minus 7. And again, on this side here, let me factor in red. And as I mentioned, is that two number multiply to give me 3, but subtract to give me negative 2. And hopefully you guys say there's only one, which is 3 times 1. And because we subtract, one of them have to be positive and the other one have to be negative. Why is the 3 negative? Because the larger number get the sign of the middle term. Okay, so because of this problem, because of the x squared, I factored them out. So now basically this is my new problem. I changed the look of the problem, but I did not change the problem itself. Okay, so once you factor them out, this is what you ask yourself, right? This is what you ask yourself is, what are you missing in the blue side? On the blue side, I have x plus 5, x minus 3. What am I missing from the red side? Again, I got the x minus 3. Everybody see that I'm missing the x plus 1. And if I put in the x plus 1, let me change the color. If I put in x plus 1 on the denominator, I need to put x plus 1 on the numerator. And similarly on the this item here. What am I missing on the blue side? And hopefully you guys see that on the blue side, they have x plus 5 that the red side does not have. And again, if they don't have x plus 5, we put an x plus 5 on the denominator, and we put the x plus 5 on the numerator. And again, this item right here, x minus 3 and x plus 1 is the same. So our goal, as you can see, our goal is met. My denominator is the same. And that's our, for this particular problem, that's our objective. The other problem, our objective is to eliminate the denominator. In this particular problem, our objective is our denominator is the same. And if we see that the denominator is the same, then all we need to do is keep one of the denominator and combine the numerator. And this is what we have if we kept the denominator x plus 5, x minus 3, x plus 1, and combine the numerator, which is 4 times x plus 1 minus 7 times x plus 5. What you need 4 in, and I need to distribute the negative 7 in here. So I have 4x 4 minus 7x minus 35 all over x plus 5, x minus 3, and x plus 1. Now, do you agree that we have like term? The 4x take away a, the 4x take away 7x, that will give you a negative 3x, and 4 take away a negative 35 to give you a negative 31 all over x plus 5, x minus 3, and x plus 1. And again, this is your answer. Some maybe they tell you to take out a negative 1 to give you 3x plus 31. 3x plus 31, but again, still, you still cannot factor anything out so that you can cancel. So again, you don't really need to factor out a negative 1 if you don't want to. But again, if you see some of the answer, they say factor out a negative 1 is just because they don't want the answer to be a in front of the x. They don't want to have a negative number. But regardless, this is the answer that I will accept. This is the answer that will be correct. So again, looking at this thing here, try to determine the difference between the two problems we did today, right? And that's the main thing that a lot of students ask me is how or when do we get rid of the denominator versus when do we just kept the denominator when there's no equal sign. Just to be that's what you need to ask yourself is when there's no equal sign, you have to have a fraction. You just need to simplify, and to simplify you need to insert to the numerator and the denominator. If there's an equal sign, then you solve, meaning your x is by itself. You need to get x by itself. Okay. Question here, ladies and gentlemen, question here with this two simplification problem, or this two problem that you need to simplify the expression. Well, if you don't have question, no, we cannot